It's Saturday morning. It's time for us to open up the experts program, and that means our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, joining us right now from the Alvarez Technology Group. Good morning to you, Luis.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Doing really well. Hey, I know that I think it was last Sunday night, they had the lighted boat parade in the Monterey Harbor. Did you or any of your compadres from the yacht club participate in that?
Oh, yeah. A bunch of us from the yacht club were out there. My boat, unfortunately, has a outboard motor that pushes it when the sails aren't up is being serviced. So I wasn't out there in my boat. I have been in previous years, but it was a fun night and a lot of pretty boats all lit up it was a great night too. It wasn't cloudy or foggy. It was a beautiful evening, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it.
Yeah, we could see the lights all the way over here in New Monterey, and it was really, really neat to watch it. Very cool. Hey, we've got a number of stories to touch on today. First off, there was an interesting story in the Mercury News yesterday that the city of San Jose State University, and NVIDIA are announcing a collaboration to further workforce development and AI innovation. So I imagine that there's going to be an element of it at the university for training of students in AI culture. And then the city of San Jose is looking at how they can enhance city employees' AI skills, promote AI awareness, and establishing mentorship programs with AI. But one of the other things that I thought was really interesting was how they are currently using forms of AI in order to the city's network of automated license plate readers that the mayor of San Jose says is on track to recover over $3 million worth of stolen vehicles. And he also went on to mention that the city has used technology to detect potholes, homeless encampments, and reduce waiting times at red lights, and also work with the local bus system, the transit system up there, to improve traffic flow for the buses and the light rail. So it sounds like it's pretty much an all-encompassing program that they're getting into there.
Yeah, I mean, AI is changing, significantly the way that we operate. And even locally, if you recall, TAMSI, which is the folks that make the decisions on how roads are designed and implemented, had been talking about putting roundabouts on Highway 68, which was very controversial. And they've since decided that was too expensive. And instead, they're investing in AI-enabled lights, like street lights, to be able to move traffic along faster and better, rather than just the automated system like, hey, 5 minutes this way, 2 minutes that way. It's now going to be tracking traffic patterns and be able to change streetlights as needed. So yeah, AI is becoming much more prevalent in pretty much everything that we do. So NVIDIA investing in San Jose State and to make sure that they have enough graduates and folks that can help them move that along makes a lot of sense.
Now, one of the other stories that we want to mention today, and it deals with in a form of artificial intelligence, but that General Motors is pulling the plug on robo-taxis and San Francisco-based Cruise autonomous vehicle unit. GM bought into that thing a few years ago, and they have lost a few $1 billion on its operation over time. And they said that they're going to get out of robo-taxis, given that the considerable time and resources that would be needed to scale the business is just not doable for them right now.
Yeah, and they're really focusing more on developing autonomous driving technology for their passenger cars, the cars doing things like Tesla's self-driving service, those sorts of things. They recognize that the idea of autonomous taxis is still going to be a while before it gets developed to the point where it's scalable. And in the meantime, consumers are demanding these autonomous driving features in cars. And so they're just going to redirect their investment to that.
Apparently, they invested $2.4 billion in Cruise, only to sustain years of uninterrupted losses with little in return. Yikes. And they had bought a controlling stake of Cruise for $581 million in 2016, and the robotaxi services piled up more than $10 billion in operating losses while bringing in less than $500,000 in revenue. Yeah, it sounds like they got to go back to the drawing board.
Exactly. And, they're not alone. Microsoft was also an investor in Cruise, so they're backing off as well. So I think Cruise is not long for our city of San Francisco.
Hey, our big story today, one that we want to dive into here that we're going to talk about, and that has to do with, remind me, Louis, because my mouse is dying.
So speaking of GM and cars, electric vehicles are making up a bigger and bigger percentage of the cars on the road. This year, it's about 17% of cars cars worldwide that were sold. And next year, it's expected to be closer to 25%. So it's really becoming much more prevalent. And one of the concerns that people that buy EVs have is the lifespan of the battery. The battery, when you buy an EV, they're warranted for, in some cases, 9 years, in some cases, 10 years. And the idea that people have is that at that point, the batteries don't hold the charge as well. But a recent study has indicated that's not necessarily the case. There's been, the EV world has been around long enough that they've been able to have real world experience with the lifespan of a battery. And it turns out that batteries, even 20 years after the fact, still hold 90% of their capacity. And they don't drop off, as some expected, to about 50% of capacity. So that means that those of you or those of us that are looking to buy an EV and thinking that it's not going to last more than 10 years, that may not be the case.
That's really good to know, because I know that for a lot of people, one of the things that kind of made a number of people shy away from wanting an EV is, the battery won't last more than a few years, and then it's going to be thousands of dollars to replace. But if batteries are going to last 2 decades, well, heck, how many people actually hold on to a car for 20 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Other than me.
And my wife. She still has her 2001 Beamer. So, she's going to eke every last mile out of that car. But the reality is most of us trade in our cars and move on to something else, which means that there's a lot of cars right now in the used car market that are EVs, and they're very affordable in the sense that, because of this battery issue, a lot of them have lost some of their value, but maybe buying a used EV is not a bad thing to do.
Hey, with EVs being in the news all the time and us talking about the battery life, I ran across another interesting story in the Friday San Jose Mercury News, and it's under the Things to Do department, travel department. Heading north for the winter, prepare your EV with these tips. And the reporter, Mark Maynard, wrote a really interesting article about how EV drivers can best get their vehicles ready if they are moving into, say, a much more severe weather system. Like, let's say you're going to be going up to Oregon or Washington State or Idaho, Montana, places where typically there's lots of snow and it's very, very cold. Talks about things that you can do that help to preserve battery life and make sure the car runs. And by the way, these same tips work in the opposite direction. In other words, if you're going to like Arizona in the summertime with an EV and you're worried about the loss of a battery during the extreme heat that they have in places in the Southwest, these same tips will work in either way. So that's something that you might want to check out. It's in the Mercury News, and it's called Heading North for the Winter, Prepare Your EV with These Tips. So that's something worth checking out. Folks have a subscription, or they can look that up online and get it. Oh, there you go. All righty. That's going to wrap it up for us today with Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Online, it's alvareztg.com, at AlvarezTG. That is the X handle. Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
And Luis, looking ahead to Monday, we're going to be talking about encrypted messaging systems and quite possibly the most secure one.
Yeah, tune in and you'll hear about a product called Signal and why it might be the encrypted app that you really want to use when you're talking to your friends and family.
That's on Monday's program starting at 8:30 here on Power Talk Radio. Luis, thanks so much for joining us. And once again, what's the toll-free number for the I-Team?
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.